Looking back and looking at the life of a lot of immigrants and a lot of people who are here, I had a lot more opportunities than they did. And I had the opportunity to attend college. I knew that eventually my dad would get everything worked out, and at that point I could transfer. Fortunately, my freshman year, September of my freshman year, 9/11 happened. We sat there and we watched it happen, and I still went to school that day, and I saw the fear in people's faces, and I saw the fear in the weeks to come of anything that looked different, and that was me.
Yeah.
I was different. I was already an outsider. I was already an uninvited guest into this country. So I felt the fear. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to meet new people. I didn't want them to accidentally find out. The fear spread everywhere, and that also meant with my dad's company, which was sponsoring us. So that fear made them pull out their sponsorship, which meant that our application, all the years of waiting, all the money that we put into it, everything was gone. Everything was lost in a moment. So now that fear of not belonging just intensified. Now we were undocumented. I mean, we had already gone through maybe 4 or 5 years of this, and nothing, you can't keep anything. Everything is pulled, and if you start the process, it's starting it over again. So that's where we were, freshman in college. I felt like all the opportunities that I saw were almost at my fingertips were now all gone. It made me question why I had worked so hard. What was the point of continuing college if there was no future for me? I came to just thinking, should I move back to Mexico? At least I could work there. At least I could have opportunities there. And I had been gone for so long, I felt like I didn't belong there either. I didn't belong there, but I felt like I didn't belong here either. And it's a really hard place to be, to feel like feel like you're no one. You're nowhere. You don't belong to anything. Maybe if I just continue studying, things will work out, something will happen. And an opportunity to become a teacher was presented to me, and through this district they would sponsor my visa so I would be able to work. And I thought a lot about it. That was not a profession that I had even thought about becoming. It felt like the only way. There was no other way for me to do this. This was really my only option. But I told myself I could do this for a few years and then I could live my life. It's a small sacrifice. I'm still young, and then I could live my life. So I graduated college and went straight into teaching. Anything that I had ever wanted, any goal, any vision that I had of myself was gone. There was one path that I had to take, and it wasn't the path that I wanted. At the end of that year, I realized that my dream of becoming a legal resident or a citizen was going to take a lot longer. They painted this picture of, don't worry about it, it's so easy, we will sponsor you, we got you. There wasn't really an end in sight for this. But at this time I had also become engaged to Felipe. But you know, like every strong Mexican woman, I wanted to do this on my own. That was the last thing in my mind, having to start this whole process through him. But at the end of the year, I knew I couldn't do this anymore, and I knew that there wasn't going to be an end in sight, and I knew that the opportunity of becoming a citizen wasn't really there. So I decided to quit teaching and start all our paperwork through him once we married. And that also meant that I couldn't work. That also meant that it was a lot of money that we had to come up with ourselves. So I started grad school since I couldn't work. We put in our application. We hired a lawyer. I went through interviews. There's a physical that you had to get done. I remember going there and presenting my insurance to them, and they were like, no, you have to pay out of pocket because your insurance will not cover this. And I was like, but I have insurance. Like, I don't understand why not. And they were like, well, you need to show that you can pay for this. And I cried because it was $400 that we didn't have. I just felt like I kept taking things away from our family, from my husband, from things that he was working so hard day in and day out, and it was just going. And I just prayed that I would see something in return. After 12 years of living in this country and calling this country home, I became a legal resident of the United States. I lived longer in this country illegally than I did in Mexico. It was a day to celebrate. I could finally say, this is home. It felt like I could come up for air. It felt like the first time that I could say, I can breathe. I can look at people in the eye and not have the fear of them thinking, or me thinking that they know. Like if I had it written across my forehead or something. It was the first time in 12 years that I felt free.
And you felt like you belonged.
And I felt like I belonged.